it going, people? I hope you're having a goddamn great day. Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be looking to implement Ralf Rangnick's system and tactics into FC24 for the likes of Bayern Munich, of course. He is linked with the job in real life, and I do think it would be a fantastic reset for Bayern Munich, of course. I'm not saying, rebuild the entire club, because that is what Ralf Rangnick is well known for doing. But I do think that a nice reset would help and go a long way with, the prolonged success of this massive German club. The recruitment has been slightly wayward over the last few years or so, and I do think that bringing in a mastermind like a Ralf Rangnick would definitely help with, how they proceed going further forward. But in terms of the tactics, I've gone ahead and implemented his famed 4-2-2 system, along with a 4-2-3-1 system that Bayern have been playing this season under Thomas Tuchel. So I do think that there might be, a system like that implemented to the side, and they do more or less have the squad set out to play in this way and manner. So the likes of Austria have played in a 4-2-3-1 system, but again, Ralf Rangnick, he likes his system, he likes the 4-2-2. So we have gone ahead and tinkered and played with that for this current Bayern Munich side, and I will say it works out very, very well. So if you guys don't mind, before we get any further on into the video, smash that like button. It helps the algorithm. It lets people that might be interested in this particular subject, it lets them know that Brom Squad Gaming has got them covered. So enough waffling. Let's hop on straight into the goddamn tactics, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. So starting off with the 4-2-2 system, I've gone ahead and selected that, of course. But the only major change I have made is I've narrowed the two number 10s, the two attacking midfielders. Now, essentially, that will allow them to drift a bit more centrally, which is what we tend to see from those number 10s in a Ralf Rangnick system, operating very much in the half spaces, drifting more centrally, pulling players out of position, but also allowing for the fullbacks to have free reign down the left or the right flank. That's more or less what you're trying to do with this situation. So, other than that, I've made no major changes to it whatsoever, so therefore it would be one goalkeeper, two centre-backs, two fullbacks, two DMs, two attacking midfielders, and then, of course, two strikers. Taking a look at the tactics, of course, Ralf Rangnick is the granddaddy of pressing, and it makes the most sense for the tactical vision to be set to gegenpressing. When out of possession of the ball, you want your team aggressively pressing high and all over the field, winning the ball back. And then Ralf Rangnick also has this thing of having like a 10-second window where his teams have got to transition very effectively and create shot opportunities within the first 10 seconds of winning the ball back. So you will be looking to implement a system like that, and you will also see the likes of a Harry Kane, a Matisse Tell, Serge Gnabry. They'll all have good opportunities to score a whole host of goals, having the team around them supply them with the opportunities to get on the score sheet. So you're looking to implement a very aggressive pressing style when out of possession of the ball, and a very fluid attacking, quick, pacey attacking outlet, you could say, when you do win that ball back. So you're looking to implement a style of. As for the defense and the defensive style, of course, it has to be said, pressing after possession loss, you want your team aggressively pressing in those central areas, forcing opposition into the flank regions out wide, and just looking to win the ball back, causing pressure, causing stress, causing mistakes to happen and occur at the back. So winning the ball back is absolutely essential. It's going to be a key element and a core value, you could say, to this Bayern Munich pressing side. As for the team width, I've set this to 35. Now, it is a nice condensed, midfield area. You do have around 4 players, sometimes even 5 players, maybe even 6 players, if your 2 strikers also tend to drop a bit deeper. And that will obviously look to prevent those passes being played into the more central areas for the opposition, forcing them out wide. You will be slightly susceptible to the crosses into the box, but you have very capable centre-backs. I mean, Kim Min-jae, dissect, Upamecano, Eric Dyer to some extent as well. And of course, you've got your goalkeepers, Emmanuel Neuer and Nubel, eventually, if he does come back. They are all very capable of dealing with those aerial balls. They're all very capable of, deflecting those opportunities created from the opposition. So I think it's a very solid unit to go ahead and use. As for the depth now, I've set this to 75. It can, go slightly further up, especially if you are playing against a lesser side. But more or less, I think 75 allows you to have that nice high line. It also allows you to not be as exploited with those balls in behind or a quick counter-attack. And of course, you do have some pacey, centre-backs. You do have some pacey, wider fullbacks. So you do have the recovery pace in your backline to prevent that. But the main attributes to having a hard line for a Ralf Rangnick system is for the press, to make sure that the opposition is kept in their own half at times. So I think a 75 replicates a very successful Ralf Rangnick system. Moving further forward now into your offensive outlets, the build-up player is set to fast build-up, like I mentioned earlier. When you do win the ball back, when you are pressing, you win that ball back, you want to transition very effectively and very quickly. Now, the likes of Asane and Musiala, they have the ability to carry the ball over long distances very rapidly. So you want that to occur. You want them to be able to operate in those little half spaces as your two number 10s. And we did see an element of this when the likes of Julian Nagelsmann was, under the managerial reins at Bayern Munich. The ability to win the ball back and aggressively transition. So it will more or less be a step back to that. But I think you'll see a lot more cutting edge to their outlet, their attacking display. So I'm very excited to see what this can, create for the likes of a Harry Kane, like I mentioned, a Matisse Tell. And I do think a Matisse Tell will be very instrumental in the success of the system, along with obviously a Serge Gnabry. But it does depend on how Ralf Rangnick sees, the various different players. I do think though that under, Rangnick, there will be a lot of opportunities given to the youth. Matisse Tell being one of them, Musiala being another, but we do know that they are going to be superstars at some point in their careers. Further on now, the chance creation. I've set it to direct passing, encouraging your forward players as well as your attacking number 10s to be able to break in behind with those long balls, sometimes pinged in behind, looking to exploit the opposition's back line with their high lines that they might look to also implement. But again, it also would encourage your fullbacks to get nice high and wide and consistently be an outlet on those wide areas of the field. As for the team width, now I've set this to 35 as well. Now essentially you want to try and keep a nice compact central attacking system, vacating those wide areas for the fullbacks to attack down, yes, but also it will allow your number 10s to have a bit more of a central, natural position, allowing them to be very creative in those central areas and sometimes look to drift along that opposition's back line. As for the players in the box now, I've set this to 8, allowing for 4 players to be in and around the box at all times, waiting for the crosses, waiting for the cutbacks, and it works out very, very well. You want to try and overload the opposition with, those dangerous crosses into the box at all times. Progressing on now to the corners and the free kicks, as always, it is set to 4. So my dudes, if we have a look at the individual player instructions, we'll start off at the back with Manuel Neuer. You are going to be playing a high line and you need a very aggressive, proactive, reactive goalkeeper that's going to be able to minimize that space in between the goal and the back line, looking to try and, engage with the opposition, win the ball back in those no-man land areas, win the ball back, circulate it back into play, maintain possession. It's all about a possession-based system as well. Even though it's going to be rock and roll football, even though it's going to be hard pressing, it's all about maintaining possession, because when the likes of a Bayern Munich have that, they can not essentially relax, but they can have a bit of a breather when in possession of the ball, looking to move it between the lines, looking to aggressively play. And that does come with the hard line, and essentially it does affect your goalkeeper because you do need a sweeper keeper in this instance. Therefore, Manuel Neuer, who's always been a sweeper keeper, he's going to be set to sweeper keeper. With the very condensed, more centrally focused defensive structure, you need a goalkeeper that's going to be also very proactive, reactive, be very aggressive when, claiming those aerial balls when they are fired into the box. So therefore, comfort crosses is going to be absolutely essential. As for your back line, we've got the likes of Matthijs de Ligt as well as Upamecano. It could also be a Kim Min-jae, don't forget that. The only changes I have made is I've allowed them to step up, be very aggressive, be very engaging with the opposition. And more or less, Rangnick expects that from his back line, engaging with the opposition, pressing nice and high up, not giving them that much space. And I will say this, and I have said it in the past, when you do have step up in play, you can be slightly exploited, especially if the opposition find ways to play around your defensive line. So if they play a 1-2 pass, because your defenders are naturally nice and close to the opposition, there can be a few issues with players getting on in behind. And that's essentially why a sweeper keeper is also going to be so vital to the success of this defensive outlet. So out wide now to your fullbacks. I've gone with the likes of Sasha Bowie as well as Guerrero, because I do think that they fit the system a little bit better. Of course, Davies is set to possibly be leaving. I'd also say that he's a very good fit as well. But in terms of Bowie and Mazraoui, I think Mazraoui doesn't have the stamina and the facilities to really be able to be a bombing on, overlapping fullback. Ajax was very much inverted, and he even played in the midfield in some moments. So maybe we see Mazraoui either get sold or possibly playing in the midfield departments. And that would be very interesting, to be fair. But in terms of your fullbacks, what you would expect from them, you want them to be attacking, you want them to be overlapping, you want them to be in those wider channels as much as possible. So in order to replicate their roles very efficiently and very effectively, join the attack, overlap, and then of course, just like with the other defenders, they'll be instructed to step up. As you'll see for the likes of Guerrero, he's got the same role and instructions as well. So guys, taking a look at the double pivots, Kimmich and Lima, I've selected them. I think that they are a very good quality fit for a Ralf Rangnick system. Now, essentially, Kimmich has been deployed as a right back this season under Tuchel, and I do like that role for him. But I do think in a Ralf Rangnick system, Kimmich wouldn't really be a good fit as a right back. You need your fullbacks just in general to be able to bomb down the flanks, provide the space, provide a lot of pace, and Kimmich doesn't essentially have that. So I think, more essentially, he can provide a lot more. He can be a good playmaker, he can be a good presser in those central areas, and he can also look to try and, break up play. Now, essentially, the likes of a Kimmich as well as a Lima have very similar roles, but the likes of a Lima, the key difference for him is he will be the aggressor of the two. He'll look to engage with the opposition, whereas the likes of a Kimmich will look to be the cover. Now, I spoke about this with the Julian Nagelsmann system from a few weeks ago. I think it was last week, actually, where in a system where you're playing very aggressive, high-pressing football, you need one aggressor and one cover at all times, whether it's with the centre-back departments or even in the midfield. So Kimmich will look to be a bit more of the cover, I would assume, with, of course, Lima looking to aggressively press the opposition in those central areas. But both of them will be set to cut passing lanes. You want them breaking up the opposition's build-up play in those central areas, shielding that back line, and just being a thorn in their side. As for the attacking support, I've set it to balance, allowing them to be very good box-to-box players, sometimes overloading half the field together, other times dropping a bit deeper, solidifying the back line, providing a good blanket shield for that backline area. And sometimes it works out better if one goes and the other stays, but sometimes you will have both, getting further forward, and other times both staying further back. So it's a give and take situation. Of course, like I said earlier, the likes of Kimmich will be set to normal interceptions. You don't want him overly aggressively pressing, or you don't want both of your DMs aggressively pressing, because that does open up the central areas quite a bit. And then, of course, the positioning freedom for Kimmich. I've set him to being the deep-lying playmaker. Now, essentially, in a Julian Nagelsmann system, a Ralf Rangnick system, in the past with Leipzig and Hoffenheim, they haven't really used a deep-lying playmaker, but I think that Kimmich would suit the system very, very well as still being a player who can dictate the pace of play, drop into the spaces, collect the ball from those goalkeeper restarts. Because essentially with a Rangnick system, he doesn't care about really building out from the back. He can do it. He does sometimes want his teams to do it, but it's not a necessity. They tend to go long and very direct into the forward line and look to aggressively push the ball further forward from there. So I do think in a system like this, Bayern will look to, control games from the get-go, from the start, from back to front. And essentially you would require one of your DMs to take up the mantle of being the chief creator. So having the likes of a Kimmich set to deep-lying playmaker would suit both what Kimmich can do as well as what I would expect Rangnick to do as well. And then, of course, cover the center. You want them both, sitting in front of that back line, not really drifting out wide as much as possible. As you'll see here for the likes of a Lema, he's got the same role and instructions apart from, aggressive interceptions, and then, of course, positioning freedom being set to stick to position. And then in terms of course, the cover the center part, you can manually look to drag, either DM out wide into those wide areas if need be, if required, to manually try and cover. But more so, you want them covering those central areas, trying to shield what's in front of that centre-back pairing. So that's why I've set them to cover the centre. Okay, so further forward now into your two number 10s. Of course, we've selected both Musiala as well as Sane. Now, I don't know if the likes of Rangnick will want Sane on the left and Musiala on the right, only because, the one is left-footed and the other is right-footed. But I have them as more inverted forwards, or inverted number 10s, allowing them to naturally cut inside and pop off shots of their own. But both of them will have the same role and instructions. Both will be told to come back on defense, obviously always looking to drop a bit deeper. Sometimes they drop into a 4-4-2 block and look to press the opposition. And you would still expect them to help out in the midfield, help out in those wider areas with the fullbacks as well. The support on crosses is set to stand on the edge of the box. They will consistently look to be in and around that area. So because you have set it to 4, they can casually break into the box themselves and obviously get on the end of a cross or a fizzed-in cutback. But more so, you want them on the edge of the box looking to retain possession, rotate possession, again, facilitate and create for the two forwards that will definitely be in and around the box. The positioning freedom is set to free roam, allowing them to drift in those little half spaces, allowing them to pick up the ball in those little pockets, allowing them to be a very, big nuisance for the opposition, pulling players out of position, not really knowing whether they should stick or twist with the free floating two number 10s. So it's a very effective set of instructions to give for your two number 10s. As for the interceptions, again, you want them aggressively pressing when out of possession of the ball, nice and high, nice and wide, and just making sure that, the opposition can't really play those balls into the central areas of the field. You want to try and isolate the opposition's midfield as much as possible. As you'll see here for the role of Sane, he's got the same role and instructions as well. Now, we take a look at our forward line. We've got the likes of a Harry Kane and a Serge Gnabry. Now, in the past, with a Ralf Rangnick system, one striker needs to be very physical, very dominant, very aggressive and backing into the opposition, where the other can be the guy who plays off of the striker. Now, the likes of a Serge Gnabry, a Matisse Tel can, fulfill that role very effectively. But I would also say that maybe looking for another striker could be an opportunity in the market that they should look to try and assess, especially if they are going to be playing a front two system. So for the role of a Gnabry, the more bombing on forward, the ability to get in behind, he wants his support runs to be set to a balance with, allowing him to sometimes stay central, other times drift out wide, arc his runs very efficiently and effectively. Paired that up with the fact that his attacking runs will be set to mixed, allowing him to play as a false nine, also uses his physicality to Bayern's advantage at times. But the main attribute would be the ability for him to drop a bit deeper, get on the ball, dictate the pace of play, as well as getting in behind, looking to penetrate that opposition's backline as much as possible. As for the interceptions, it will still be set to aggressive, looking to press the opposition's goalkeeper in the backline, forcing errors, forcing mistakes, forcing turnovers, and creating shot opportunities on goal. And then, of course, the defensive support is set to basic. Like I mentioned earlier, you want a very compact, condensed midfield four, sometimes even a midfield 5 or 6, because your two strikers can also drop a bit deep and, more or less formulate a midfield 6 at times, preventing those easy passes into the midfield, looking to aggressively press in those central areas. So you more or less can expect that. But at the same time, in certain moments, if you are dominating the pace of play, you don't require that from your strikers. You can allow them to stay further forward and maybe, stem together a few passes and create counter-attacking opportunities. As for the role of Harry Kane, he would be set to stay central. He'll be the more physical player. But of course, it's Harry Kane. You can't just force him to be a target man. That would be eliminating very good key attributes of his game. So he'll be told to stay central. You don't really want him drifting as much. Of course, you want him more central as the focal point of the attack. Now, the attacking runs, more naturally for a system like this, I would have the striker set to target player. But it's Harry Kane, like I said. You want him to sometimes be able to break in behind. He's not the quickest of players, but you can expect him to do that every now and then, especially if the opportunity is there. Just like with Gnabry, you can also expect him to use his physicality. He's very physical, he's very strong, he can hold up the play very nicely. Or he can also look to drop a bit deeper, get on the ball, dictate the pace of play, spray those passes out wide, maybe to the wide areas, maybe an on-running Guerrero or a Sasha Bowie out wide into those wider flanks. Or maybe even play the ball into a Musiala or a Sane and make those runs further on into the box. He can do all of these things, and you want him to more or less do all of these things. And I don't think Rangnick will eliminate those key elements of his game. He's a very smart man. In terms of the interceptions, I've set this to normal. Harry Kane has never been the player that's going to aggressively press. Now, I think in a system like this, he will obviously press a lot more than what he's normally used to, but I don't think it would be too aggressive or too, hectic for his game plan. And then, of course, the defensive support will be set to stay forward. He will be the chief creator further up the field, hanging further up, waiting for those balls to be fired into him, where he does have the ability to hold up the play and string together a few passes for, counter-attacking opportunities to occur. Now, guys, switching to the 4-2-3-1, this is just another system that I can see the likes of a Bayern Munich, implementing under the likes of a Ralf Rangnick, and I do think it would work out very, very well. Like I mentioned earlier, they currently play the system with Thomas Tuchel. They played the system with a Julian Nagelsmann, so they are a team constructed to play a 4-2-3-1. So for the formation going forward, I've made one change to it. I've selected the 4-2-3-1 narrow, and I've converted the left and the right attacking midfielder into left and right midfielders. Therefore, I've made no other changes. It would be one goalkeeper, two centre-backs, two full-backs, two DMs, one attacking midfielder, two wider midfielders, and then, of course, one striker. Now, guys, taking a look at, Granddaddy Ralf and what he's got to offer for the tactical side of things, I wouldn't make many changes to it. I still think the core values will be implemented the same way as the 4-2-2 system, so therefore, gegenpressing would be implemented, along with, of course, pressing after possession also goes hand in hand with the gegenpressing style. 35 width, 75 team depth, and again, you can alter that depending on who you're playing and where you're playing. If you're playing a Real Madrid, keep it on 75. I wouldn't say go lower than that, because that kind of breaks the more natural gegenpressing system. But if you're playing a Firth away from home or at home, go ahead, pump it all the way up to 95 if needed, because that'll obviously push the team up, and it will allow a very aggressive pressing style to occur. As for the offense, still set to build up play. The offense is still set to fast build up as well as direct passing. And then, of course, 35 width. You still want to have, your wider midfielders nice and condensed with the natural number 10, interchanging positions, interchanging places, and being very effective when it comes to pulling players out of position. So a nice centrally focused attacking outlet, still vacating those wide areas for the fullbacks to operate in. And of course, the players in the box will still be set to 8, allowing for 4 players to be in and around the attacking area at all times. The corners and the free kicks, as always, will still be set to 4. So my dudes, taking a look at the individual player instructions now, I will say this: your goalkeeper, your defenders, as well as your double pivot will all have the same role and instructions as before. The only major changes that we do see here is, of course, further forward, the natural shape has changed. It's no longer a 4-2-2 system. You've got a midfield, an attacking midfielder and 2 wider midfielders paired up with a single striker. So there will be a few instructional changes that need to occur. Starting off with the number 10, he will be instructed to drop a bit deeper at times, helping facilitate a solid defensive outlet for the side going forward. The support runs will still be set to a balanced approach, allowing him to drift in and out of the box, allowing him to also be on the edge of the area, rotating play, facilitating quite effectively, supplying the likes of a Harry Kane or a Matisse Tell with the killer pass inside of the box. The positioning freedom, just like with the previous instructions for the number 10, set to free roam. You want him drifting all over the place, picking out those little half spaces, operating in those little spaces as best as he possibly can. The interceptions will be set to aggressive, and again, your wider midfielders will also look to aggressively press higher up the field, looking to win the ball back as best as possible. Also looking to kind of, allow the likes of a Harry Kane to not have to, exert too much energy on the press. As for your wider midfielders, they will have the same role and instructions head up. It is a very similar role to what the wider number 10s had. The left and the right number 10 for the 4-2-2 system. So they'll both be instructed to come back on defense and also having a free roaming role, allowing them to drift in and out of those little half spaces, combining very nicely with a free roaming Musiala. But the support runs, now that is set to balance, allowing them to break in behind if required, if necessary. And it also allows for, that direct passing to come into play very effectively. If the opportunity is there, maybe a Sane is making a run down the right-hand side, you can look to effectively ping in a ball in behind and have him latch onto it. So it allows you to incorporate various aspects of it. Of course, Serge Gnabry, not really well known for consistently bombing down the flanks, but he does like to come inside a bit more, drift inside, operate in those little tight spaces. So you can allow him to also incorporate the getting behind approach, but at the same time, come inside and come short and link up with the midfield. And of course, Sane is also very good at doing so as well. The interceptions will be set to aggressive, paired up with the fact that they will be told to be on the edge of the box for the crosses. Now, this allows them to facilitate very effectively, but every now and then you do see either your left or your right midfielder breaking into the box, popping up at the back post, waiting for the cross or the cutback to arrive for them. And then taking a look at Harry Kane, he's got the same role and instructions as before. You don't really want to change too much with him, especially with the amount of movement just in behind him. You don't really require him to drop too deep. You would still expect and want him to be the outlet ball for a potential counter-attack. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead and put down a few names on a shortlist that I think would suit a Ralf Rangnick system very, very well. He believes in finding players and not buying superstars. He believes in scouting young players, waiting to take that next step and maybe develop into a superstar. I mean, at Manchester United, for example, he put down quite a few names on a list and gave it to the board, and he was like, you need to go and get these players. And some of those players that I can think of was a Luis Diaz, Enzo Fernandez, as well as a Julian Alvarez. And of course, those players have gone on to do really good things. I mean, Enzo Fernandez won the World Cup and hasn't really worked out as of yet with Chelsea. But I do think that in the future, he will be a very, very good player. Paired up with, of course, Luis Diaz at Liverpool doing very well. And of course, Julian Alvarez. The less said, the better. He is one of the best strikers in the world, and he comes off of the bench for Man City. But these are players, and these are the type of players that Ralf Rangnick wanted the likes of Man United to sign. So I do think that he would do more or less the same thing with the likes of Bayern Munich, looking to find players waiting to take that next step and not pay absurd amounts of money, but, kind of restructure the recruitment policy that Bayern Munich have kind of fallen down on over the last few years. So starting off at the back with a very solid centre-back, Mosquera. He's got very high work rates, and that's another element that the likes of Rangnick wants and requires for a system to be very effective. With all the pressing, you need good, hard-working, high work rate players. So for the likes of Mosquera, he's got a high attacking work rate as well as a high defensive work rate. Now, essentially, he could be a very solid Upamecano replacement. I think his overall rating is 70 or 71, and he does have a potential of around 79 to 80. So he is a bit of a developmental type player, but in a correct system, I think he could be very, very good. As for your midfield, now, I've gone ahead and put Vitaly Janelt on the shortlist. I think he's another player that could also work out very, very well. Maybe replacing or coming off of the bench for a Kimmich or a Lima. Very aggressive, again, got the double high work rates on the offensive end as well as the defensive end. And he can play quite a few different positions, which is another key element to what Ralf Rangnick would want and require from his side. He does like to, put players in certain areas that can affect the game differently. And of course, with him being able to play as a left back, that could work out quite well for Bayern Munich. And then we've got Guadu. Now, this man is playing for Espanyol, who are in the second division of Spanish football. And he is another player that's waiting, probing, sitting patiently for his chance to occur. He is 25, so he's approaching the prime of his career. He can play as a left midfielder, a right midfielder, or even a striker. And I do think that he could be a solid pairing up front with Harry Kane, if you don't want the likes of a Serge Gnabry playing up front with, of course, Harry Kane. Or even he could play on the wings in the 4-2-3-1 system. Further on into the midfield, you've got Medina, Kakare, and Branch. Now, Kakare and Branch have the double high work rates, but Medina would be a type of player, only because Rangnick has scouted in South America in the past. He would be a player that's also looking to take that next step up. He's got a high defensive work rate paired up with a medium attacking work rate. So maybe he could be a natural, replacement in the side for Kimmich. I'm not saying sell Kimmich, but he could be a solid player for, like-for-like rotations with a player like Joshua Kimmich. Whereas the other two, very good box-to-box players, also very young, looking to take that next step in their careers. Why not take it at Bayern Munich under the likes of a Ralf Rangnick? And again, they are solid players. Brian Mbeumo playing for the likes of Brentford. I do believe that he is a player that is destined for bigger things. I'm not trying to be offensive to Brentford fans, but he is 23. He has done very well this season. He's more or less helped Brentford stay out of the relegation zone with one of their best players missing in Ivan Toney for majority of the season. He does have the double high work rates. He can play up front, press aggressively with the likes of a Harry Kane. Also got some very good play styles, rapid and of course quick step. And then, moving on to our last player on the shortlist, Jonathan David, set to leave the likes of Lille at the end of this season. He has been linked with a move to Manchester United, but I do think that maybe a Bayern Munich could come in, see the opportunity in the market, pay around 20 to 30 million. And again, he could pair up very, very well with a strong physical striker in Harry Kane, making those runs in behind, having Kane drop slightly deeper and ping those balls in behind to him. And again, he's got loads of pace on him that can pair up very well with a Musiala, a Sane. So I don't think you can go wrong with that. Again, he would fit the system very, very nicely. The pressing, he's got relentless Travella as well as quick step. So we do know that he's got that third lung trait where he can, run as much as possible. And there you have it, guys. That is how I would implement the Ralf Rangnick system and tactics into FC24 for the likes of Bayern Munich. If you have enjoyed this video, as per always, smash that like button down below, subscribe if you are new, and don't forget to hit that bell notification. It will let you know, or YouTube will let you know, that every time I upload a video, you can go ahead and watch it. Anyways, until the next time, until the next one, I hope you have a goddamn great day, and I'm out.